All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. My name is Jeremy Minor, the chairman, founder and chairman of Seventh Level. I'm here with my business partner, CEO, the smart guy of both of us, Matt Ryder, zooming in from our Scottsdale office here in the United States, zooming into our international office in Sydney, Australia. And so I'm going to look at you and I'm going to look away kind of both time we're recording this. Oh, you want some lights on? Man, sorry, I got to turn some lights. This Blake guy's mean to me all the time. So today we got an interesting subject. We're going to talk about like, how do you determine? So let's say if you're in, you're business to business, you're selling B2B or you're selling, business to consumer B2C. How do you determine if it's going to be a 1-call close? How do you determine if it's going to be a 2-call close? How do you determine if it's going to be 3 or 4-call close? Or how do you determine what your sales cycle looks like? Matt, what are your initial thoughts on that subject? I know it's.
I think we've overlooked something that's really important, which is today of filming. It is Jeremy Minor's birthday.
It is my birthday. I am a young 25 today. Thank you very much. I know I look like I'm 25. So
happy birthday, buddy!
Happy birthday! I was telling people in the office, they're like, how old are you? And I'm like, man, I'm 40 freaking 5 today. I'm either 40. Yeah, I'm 45. And people are like, holy hell, man! I thought you were like 32 or 34. Some guy said 28.
It's almost like you're the boss.
I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to identify as a 35-year-old because that's what I look like. So I'm offended. If you call me 45, I'm going to identify as a 35-year-old. That's what I'm saying. I
was thinking about identifying as 65 and tapping it in my 401k.
I think you should identify as a 65-year-old and tap into that 401k 100%. So this is an interesting subject. I think we got this question from somebody that just randomly, messaged in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution, like, hey, how do you determine if it's a 1-call, 2-call close, 5-call close, 12-call close? And we're like, you know what? We've never really covered that on the podcast. It'd be an interesting subject to talk about. And, a lot of it is really determined on if you sell business to, B2C, which is, stands for business to consumer, if you're new to sales, or if you sell B2B, which stands for business to business, meaning you're talking to companies and, organizations, and you've got multiple decision makers compared to if you sell B2C and there's either a 1 decision maker or maybe there's 2 decision makers, like a husband and wife or something like that. So a lot of it's really determined on which you're in.
Yeah. Do you have a preference of which way you lean? Because the way that I look at it is like the shorter the process.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but the shorter the process, the more reliant on really high quality sales skills.
Yeah.
Well, the longer the process, to a certain extent, the more you can lean on the process to be able to do some of the indoctrinating and selling for you. So like if I come in with some of our training that we do for teams and they're a very green team, I'll intentionally extend the process, make it very clear, put homework in between, you know what I mean? And sort of try and have the process do some of the heavy lifting.
It depends, right? Because I come from both, right? Like, so in the 4 industries I sold in my almost 17-year sales career, like 16 and a half years, 2 of them were business to business, B2B, 2 of them were business to consumer, B2C. So I know both like the back of my hand. So I've closed in B2C where it was a 1-call close. And my other company I worked with, it was a 2-call close. Now in B2B, I sold where there was one company that I sold is usually about a 4 to 5 call close. Okay, meeting close. And there was another one where it was a much longer sales cycle where the average rep, it was taking them 9 months to close a deal. And I was able to shorten that cycle down to about 3 months, which makes you a lot more money as a company and that kind of stuff. So there's definitely, you can shorten a sales cycle. Like a lot of clients come to us. We have a client it's a small cap company out of Boston. I'm not going to give the name out, but it's a small cap medical device company out of Boston. And I remember when Johnny Custer. So I remember when they came to us, he's like, hey man, our sales cycles are 9 months long, sometimes a year. We have to golf with them. We have to take them, we have to bring them lunch. We have to do this. It's like we have to wine and dine these guys and hospital administrators. How do I shorten that down? And so it's just because they were more interested in whining and dining and just talking about stuff. And it just never led to anything. It's like everybody was doing that, right? In B2B. Now there's some different regulations that are different now where you can't do some of that stuff, especially if you sell in pharmaceutical sales. You can't take the doctor golfing and that kind of stuff because that's considered like, benefits to take my drugs, type of thing. So there's some different restrictions there, but it's how do you shorten that sales cycle? So do you want to focus on B2C first, then let's talk to B2B, or what do you want to do?
I think so. I'd love to know your thought process. It's like when you come into an offer, like, is it the first thing that you decide? Like, okay, like what are some of the determining factors as to why you would have a shorter or a longer sales cycle? Why would you go 1 call, 2 call, 3 call, 4 call?
Yeah, so let's talk about more business to consumer first, then we'll talk to the B2B because there's some different angles there. Okay. And it might even be intermingled. So in B2C, the way if I wanted to do a 1 call close, typically that product is not, in my mind, I can convert higher. Let's say that's products 15, 20, 30, 50, $100,000, even in business to B2B or B2C. Okay. In my mind, I'm going to create more trust by having a 2-call process than trying to have a 30-minute phone call and close a $50,000 sale if I want a full pay. Now, if I'm okay with taking partial payments, I could maybe get away with that. But if I want to collect more revenue as a company and as a sales professional, so you get paid more, plus you get the prospect more committed, it's good for them as well. I'm going to do a 2-call close. Now, let's say if I'm selling something business to consumer, and let's say that I'm doing door-to-door sales and I'm selling an alarm system that's, a couple $100, or the equipment's free, and they're enrolling to a 3 or 5 year agreement or contract with the monitoring company, and it's $50, $60 a month. That's just a 1-call close. That's like transaction. Make the sale 30 minutes, you're out the door. Solar is a little bit different. That's more of a 2-call close because I'm coming to make the appointment when both decisions are making, because decision makers are husband and wife, let's say, or whoever you're married to. And then I'm coming back maybe later that day or the next day because I need both of them there to make that decision because it's a larger decision there, maybe getting a loan out for 30 or 50 grand. Okay. That would be an example. Let's say if I sold final expense insurance or, life insurance, something, I'm selling like $10,000 policies or $20,000 policies, or maybe even $100,000 policies. That's probably a 1-call close. Now, in that same example, let's say that I work for USA, let's say I work for a huge company. Okay. And I'm selling, annuities, and I'm selling investments to high net worth investors. And let's say I'm selling something that's 500 grand, $1 million, 2 million, or whatever. That's probably going to be at least a couple of calls to sell that in the same really B2C market, because I'm just selling to an individual. Okay. So it really depends on who you're actually selling. And I would say the price point of what you're selling. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So I think if I could extract some few things, if it's very transactional, I think like one call is going to be close. And it's not super deterministic against the price.
Yeah.
Obviously, price does play a role, but they're probably you're probably not going to sell a $500,000 deal in 1 call, right? But anything that's really transactional, you want to do that. Whereas anything where you're going to have like there's a lot of trust, there's maybe a lot of ongoing support, right? And you're going to want to build more trust in the sales process because things that are transactional, people are happy to just pay the money and get the thing. Yeah,
because it's less risky for them, even if it doesn't work out, right? It's less risk than $100,000 or something.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Would you take into account the previous efficacy of the sales team or like how skilled that team is?
I could take that into account too. So let's say that if I'm selling something that's 10 or 15 grand or something, there are certain sales teams that are highly trained. Let's say if they're NEPQ certified and we're training them ourselves, we know they can convert. When we can teach them how to do a 1-call close pretty successfully. Now, let's say we come into a new account and we're training those new salespeople and they're all green. They just don't have many sales skills, or they have the wrong sales skills. That's usually what happens most of the time with most companies. We might teach them how to do a 2-call close in that same thing to sell the same 10 or 15,000 because they're able to build more trust. So it's more like a first call discovery. And then the second step is to either do a demo if you're selling something that needs a demo, okay? Or the second step might be to, you're coming back to them the next day or two with a proposal. Or the second step, let's say if you sell more, let's say if you're in the coaching industry, and you're selling a real estate training program or Amazon or something. We have a lot of clients in that, companies that crush it. It might be, let's say their product is 30 grand and I'm going to do a one call discovery call. Then I'm going to invite them to a webinar that kind of goes over how the business model works. It's maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Then I've got to schedule with them the next day to go over their questions, and I'm going to close them on that. Okay. So it just really depends. You can do both. I typically, the more expensive the product is, even in B2C, and like I said, we're going to talk about B2B in a minute because it's a little bit different. The more expensive that product is, like in one of the industries, I sold like high-end events and high-end like e-commerce stuff that was like 30, 50, 80 grand. Well, I could probably get away with the first call close for payment plans, but I wanted to collect like 80% of them full pays. So usually I would do the first call discovery. That's 25 minutes, 25 minutes, get them emotionally involved with their problems they maybe didn't realize they had and why they want to solve them and where they want to go. And then, we would email them some information like a webinar that went over what we did and how we solved certain problems. So they're kind of like pre-sold. And then we have a schedule that, let's say the next day, I want to do that pretty quick, the next day or maybe the day after. And I'm going through questions, maybe even a possible proposal. And then I'm closing them on that call. Now it could take them a couple of days to get 30 grand in or 50 grand in, because maybe they have to sell stock or they have to sell Bitcoin or they have to sell something or get it from their 401k. But you've at least built a little bit more trust in that 2-call close. With me?
Okay. Yeah. Does the marketing play a role at all? Like, would you like, depending on like, because obviously you can write a sales process, but the marketing will play a role.
True.
So would you then make adjustments based on like, because one of the things that I've done is, I've sort of built different for some of the companies that we train, and sell for. I've built different processes for different marketing. So like email leads are always usually really good, right? So if they have a cultivated email list, then I'll have a shorter sales cycle. So they'll come in and we'll create all the flow charts. They'll come in and then from there, email, they go straight here. Like they bypass certain parts of it. So like, will you write your sales script based on the offer and the market and the team? And then will you then change it based on the marketing, or would you assess the marketing?
Yeah, I want to assess the marketing because let's say the company, or let's say if you sell what you might be talking about some coaching stuff or influencer space, if they're well known, right? They have a big brand, or let's say the company you're selling for is Coca-Cola. Right. You can change it a little bit. Now that's more B2B, but so I'm just saying,
like a SaaS company, like there are different ways. Like if we look at Close.io as an example, or HubSpot, right? They have like lots of brand awareness campaigns, but then they would have email leads. They also have Facebook ads. They have LinkedIn ads. They have IG stuff. They have everything sort of going on. So I would assume like what I would do. Yeah. They have a lot of trust, but I would, a Facebook lead is never going to be as good as an email lead. Right. Like it's just not it's just the way it is, like in sort of general speak. Right. So I would have a different sales process. So would you break it down that granularly, or would you try and keep it somewhat cohesive across and then kind of make adjustments on the fly?
Depends on the industry once again, but it depends on brand awareness for sure. Let's say if I'm selling insurance and most of their leads are getting from mailers that 10 other companies are also calling at the same time. Right. There's a little bit less brand awareness, right? Because you've got 12 other companies calling and they're not even sure who's calling. They just filled out some random form. So sometimes it depends on the marketing. Let's say if you're, selling, Amazon education to start an Amazon business or SBA or something like that. And the influencer you're selling for or company, Amazon's well known, but they're not well known at all. Their marketing's horrible. I might feel better with the sales team doing a 2-call close so they can build that trust rather than 1-call close. But let's say they're well known. They're like the biggest in the space and they've been around for 10 years or whatever. I might get away with more of a 1-call close. So that is important to take in account for sure.
I think it's a really interesting point that like, I didn't know, like I've sort of obviously come up in more of the high ticket closing space. And a lot of people who listen to this are in that. And we have a big swath of pretty much everyone. It's funny when you hear high ticket closing industry sales guys complain about leads when like in insurance, that lead's being sold to 20 different companies at the same time. And then you have aged leads, which means that you're dealing with leads that are between 3 and 12 months old. So they expressed interest a year ago and that is your lead source.
And they're okay with that. You have the right skills. Like, we've got a company that we're working with and training that they're taking aged leads that are 3 months old. And the ones they're getting a hold of, they're booking like 70% of those. But it's because of what we're having them ask in the beginning that triggers them to want to engage and want to open up, even though they responded to this mailer 3 months before, and it probably had 10 other agents call them.
Yeah.
Those 10 other agents didn't have the right skills to ever book. But if you have the right skills, you can even call age leads and do it.
You know, inbound leads from a warm VSL is it's not a difficult thing to sell. Like, sure. You know, in the grand scheme of things compared to some of the other industries. Okay, let's switch over to B2B.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd love to hear your initial thought process. Like, what's Jeremy Miner's? What's your like? Okay, I'm coming into a business.
Yeah.
These guys are doing, you know, $50 million a year.
Yeah.
They have a shitty sales process.
Sure.
What's your first?
So with B2B, a lot of it is determined not necessarily by price, but how big the organization is and how many decision makers are involved, right? So if I'm selling business to business and I'm selling, let's say, merchant processing, and I walk into a laundromat that is owned by Grandma Jones, that's probably going to be a 1-call close, right?
Yep.
But that's B2B. Right? Maybe it's a 2-call close, worst case scenario. However, let's say if I'm selling merchant processing and I get a meeting with Coca-Cola, that is probably not going to be a 1-call close. That's going to be a first call discovery with some type of C-level executive. Then I have to understand the right questions like, okay, John, can you walk me through your company's decision-making process when it comes to solving problems like this, whatever that problem was? And there's like, well, first of all, I need to talk with my department head, Kelly. She's in charge of this. And then it has to go up to our COO, Mary S. Birchie. And then, you know, we have to, the ultimate decision-making is by our CEO. And then he has to get it approved from the board where I'm like 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, 5 layer. Then it's probably going to have to go to legal. Yeah. I know how to navigate in that organization now, right? So my second call, maybe it's a demo if I'm selling a software. Maybe the third call or meeting is in person, and now it's a proposal to the board. Maybe the fourth appointment is 2 weeks later, and it's a Q&A for the board. Maybe the fifth one is I have to bring in my IT director with their IT director to see how they're going to incorporate to see if it works. I mean, there's multiple things in there. All that together could take 3 months if I know what I'm doing. Now, if I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just winging it and I'm not setting up like the next step. So in B2B, it's important that you ask what are called commitment questions, not to close them, but to get them to commit to taking smaller steps. Next step demo, next step proposal, next step with the board, next step with the CEO or whatever it is. Making smaller commitments, smaller decisions that lead to what? The ultimate decision of buying. Okay. And we can control that process once you learn NEPQ or neuro emotional persuasion questions. You learn how to navigate throughout that organization where they want to bring in other people rather than you meeting with the C-level executive and like, okay, I'll take that back. Email your proposal. I'll take it back and we'll get back to you if we're interested. You're done if that's the case. You don't want to do that.
I love that soundboard.
Like that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's almost like there's that distinction between, I guess, whenever I'm on inner circle calls, like people always tell me I'm in B2B sales. And I'm like, well, stop. Are you? Just because you're selling to a business, like there is a distinction between enterprise and like small to medium business, right? Small to medium business is very B2C.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because you're selling the owner, right? Yeah. So it's very emotional to them. Yeah. When you're selling a C-suite, it's like the emotion of the outcome is nowhere near. So you have to tie it to the emotion of the outcome for them personally.
Yeah.
Well, and that might not be monetarily. It might be status and the ability to climb the ladder.
Get promoted, not get fired. Could be a status of not losing their job. Could be a lot of different things.
Exactly. So you've got to find the different motivators and you need a process to do that. And you got to have a distinction between SMB and enterprise because they're very different sales. And
100%.
To me, SMB is basically just an easier version of B2C.
It is, right? So that might be a 2-call close or 3-call close, depending on what you sell, right? Because let's say that you sell to a social media agency and you train them how to scale it or something. I don't know. And your product and services cost a monthly retainer of $8,000 a month with upfront 30 grand. I'm just throwing out random numbers. So that's probably not going to be a 1-call close. It's probably going to be a 1-call discovery, help them find out their problems, what they're looking for, why they're looking to change. Maybe the second call is a demo of what you do, or maybe a proposal. Okay. And you might even need a third call. And that could be, let's say if it's a first call discovery, second call demo, third call proposal, and you can probably close that up there. And that can be closed in maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the very most, something like that. However, like you said, if you're selling enterprise, your first meeting with this C-level executive, then she has to pull in this guy who's over the head of IT. Even though he doesn't make the decisions, he can still influence the decision, right? A lot of people don't understand, like, oh, he's not a decision maker. Oh, really? Well, let's say you're selling some type of software. Well, your head of your IT, what do they have to do? Well, they have to install that. They have to run it.
The CIO or the CTO is going to have to be on board with this. So
they have to train it. And what if they feel that this, oh, by the way, I'm just throwing out software example, this software could threaten their job? Or let's say if they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to bog us down. I'm going to have to hire more people. And then let's say everybody else is on board. You've had 2 months of meetings, but you never involved the CTO. CEO's on board, the CFO, the COO, the department heads. But man, CTO never was involved because you didn't know how to get them involved because they don't make decisions.
And then even like the way that we used to sell, we've changed and altered our B2B product for sales training for businesses.
True.
Because of the resistance that we got from existing sales managers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we were looking at this and we were going like, man, we are seen as a threat to these people, whereas we want to be seen to be able to help them. Like, I want to help you make more money. I want to help you get better overrides, get more commissions, grow the team, look like the rock star. But all they saw us as was, holy crap, these guys are going to come in and replace me.
Exactly.
So we had to shift our product offering and how we sold it to be much more collaborative with them. And then, not, have such long, so we just changed the product. So we had to sit down and think about it based on the feedback that we were getting and mold our process and our offering to match what the market was wanting and to minimize sales and to shorten our sales cycles. Yeah.
Cause we have to understand, you brought up an excellent example. Let's say that we're offering sales training to a company. And let's say we're first talking about sales manager. The sales manager might feel threatened that, oh my gosh, these guys are 10 times better than me. And they're going to replace me. Like, they're going to bring in somebody to replace me because I'm not getting the job done. So they feel threatened. So going back to that example, let's say the CTO was never involved. Everybody else that, the average, Inc. magazine, reading an article. And I don't know if you're aware, but we just became contributors for Inc. magazine. There you go. Maybe you didn't know that, Matt, but I
did know that.
Contributors.
Yeah. I saw the emails.
You saw the emails. Okay. So now we're writing about 2 to 3 articles a month, different sales training, different stuff like that. So make sure you guys look out for those for sure in Inc. magazine. And they mainly target SMB. Most of their readership is SMB, that type of thing, to their target. But anyway, so there's an article in there and I've even read it in Forbes before a few years ago, that talk about in the average organization, especially enterprise, the average enterprise organization has almost 7 decision makers minimum. Some have more. Okay. SMB on average, probably 3 to 5, but other influencers who also influence the decision. Okay. Big corporations, enterprise might have 7 decision makers, but 5 or 6 other people who also influence that. So how do you navigate that? If you don't understand the right questions to navigate, you're pretty much just winging it, hoping and praying that everybody's going to be on board. You don't want to lose control of the sales process. Okay. So we want to bring all those people in. Okay. And we do that in increments. That's why it takes a little bit longer, but you can cut that sales cycle down. Like we have many enterprise companies, let's say they had a 6 or 9 month or 10-month sales cycle, and pretty much chop that in half if you know how to navigate the right way and ask commitment questions that get those smaller commitments that lead to the ultimate decision of purchasing what you're offering. That makes sense.
And Jeremy, where can they find out more about this type of training?
Good question.
Their sales cycles. Yeah. Give them the confidence to have a nice, consistent sales process.
Yeah, I heard we're getting like 30,000 downloads or something on the
35 last month. Yeah.
35. Yeah. And we just kind of started this as a hobby like 6 months ago. So,
well, I don't think we took it very seriously until about 2 years ago when I found out how many downloads we were getting.
I had no idea. I thought we were getting like a third of that. I
thought, yeah, me too.
There you go. So, hey guys, if you want to learn more about, because I know it's hard for us in 25 or 30 minutes to give you like specific tactical training. Like, you're going to ask this question, and when they say this, you're going to ask that. And if they say this, you're going to ask this. And here's the right tonality to ask that question. Now, if they come back and they say they're not going to get this person involved, like, what do you do here? And let's say that the head of the IT department doesn't want to be involved. Like, what do you say in your email to get him to want to be involved? And how do you go to this person? And let's say if it's a husband and wife and you're selling this, and the wife says, I want to think it over, and the husband's not there, what do you do then? So if you want to learn all of those type of skills, because we're only able to give you like little nibbles and chunks here and there. If you want hors d'oeuvres, if you're tired of the hors d'oeuvres and you want more of the main course, the meal, so you can sell more of your products and services. If you're an individual salesperson, if you're a sales manager, executive, you want your sales teams to double, triple their numbers. If you're the business owner, and you're like, our teams are not hitting quota every single month, and I want to scale my business. I want to be let's say if you're a 6-figure business owner, you want to be a 7-figure. But what's gotten you here is not going to get you there. If you're a 7-figure business owner, you want to be an 8-figure business owner. What's gotten you there? Not going to get you there. You want to be a 9-figure business owner. Train a lot of companies like that. We're getting closer. You have to learn new skills, right? So you have to learn new skills. We're getting there. You have to learn new skills. So if you want to go, we got a website you can go to, www.salesrevolution.group. It's just our free Facebook group. You can just check us out in there. We go live in there at salesrevolution.group, salesrevolution.group. We go live in there about 3 to 4 times a week with different trainings, different Q&As. We break down sales processes from clients. We share scripting from different industries. We train like 150 some plus different industries at this point. So just go to salesrevolution.group. Right when you join, check your messages on Facebook. Okay, we will message you, either myself, Matt, our CEO, Marco, our Chief Revenue Officer, or somebody on the team. Will message you a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course. It's just a list of different questions that you can use for different sales situations that we know you're in right now, where you're losing sales, whether you sell B2C or B2B. We're going to give them examples of both, and you'll enjoy that, I promise you. And then we'll see you in there for more training. But yeah, go to salesrevolution.group. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Farewell, adieu. I don't know any other words.
Then goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. All right, Matt, we'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.